The first movie we're going to talk about tonight is an old favorite of mine, a movie from my childhood because I was born 1,000 years ago. Wildcat is a 1986 American sports comedy film directed by Michael Ritchie, starring Goldie Hawn, James Keach, and Swoozy Kurtz. It is the film debut, and this is some film trivia for those of you who like such things at the local bar. It is the film debut of Wesley Snipes of Blade fame and Woody Harrelson of every other movie you've ever seen in the last 20 years fame. So Michael Ritchie, who I said is the director of this, he has directed a shit ton of movies. The last one being The Fantastics in 2000, but you may have also heard of him from Cool Runnings, which he has a story credit. He directed Digstown, Fletch Lives, The Golden Child, I Want the Knife. He directed the original Fletch, 1985. He directed Divine Madness, which was an American concert film of Bette Midler. My dad would like that. So, Jason, I'll get into kind of my history with this movie in just a second. I want to hear from you, though. Wildcats, did you see it when we were young? We're not kids anymore, or did you only see it recently when I suggested it for this podcast?
Oh no, I grew up on Wildcats.
Yeah, homie, give it to me.
Slap hands, slap hands. No, I grew up on Wildcats, and you're going to hear this come up a lot. Is who might even actually be watching the show. He asked me to send him the link so he could tune in. Is my cousin Sam.
What's up, Sam? What's side?
Yes. But yeah, I mean, we watched this quite often, and it was just one of those movies that this was actually my first quote unquote football movie.
Really? Not the Robin Williams one. Oh shit.
Nope.
Well,
I was nope. Nope. It was Wildcats. I was introduced to. This is probably one of the first sports movies actually that I watched that I can remember from my childhood, because I would have been 8 years old when it came out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember watching it, loving Finch, loving Bird. Just and the take on the Super Bowl, the Wildcats take on the Super Bowl shuffle from the '85 Bears that they parried at the end. This was a staple of my childhood. And the fact that you get to see the introduction of Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson.
It's film history.
Yeah, and go ahead and say it, Mark. I know you want to say the thing that I hate. It is actually in the Museum of.
Oh, that's not here. Actually, oh, your buddy's actually watching. He says he's watched it many times.
Yeah, there's my cousin Sam. What's up, Sam?
I'm sorry. It is not in the. It is not in the Library of Congress. Oh, it is.
Yes.
You're kidding me, because it's not on the Wikipedia page. So I didn't.
Yes, it is. That's why it's free on YouTube if you ever want to watch it.
Oh,
but yeah,
I fucking rented it on Amazon. I'm dumb.
I sent you the link. I said you can watch it free on YouTube.
Oh, I don't.
I swear
I don't
you don't
click
pay
on things
attention
you
to
save
me. But yeah, me and my cousin Sam, who's like I said, is watching. We watch Wildcats quite often, and we did the Wildcats rap because we thought we was cool back then.
It's the sport of
and it was just one of those fun movies that you could just you grew up, you laughed, and had fun with.
I was 10 when it came out. I'm pretty sure I was one of the hoity kids who watched it on HBO when it finally came, because I don't think my parents took me to see this in the movies. I definitely remember watching it at home, and I also watched it a shit ton. Like if it was ever on in syndication, if it was ever on cable, I watched it a ton. I'm pretty sure we had a copy of it because I told my dad had a large collection of movies that he taped off of HBO or wherever else he found them. He would put 2 on each blank cassette. So that's one that I was always watching my dad's VHS tapes. Some I shouldn't have been. And I watched this one a ton. Goldie Hawn was a staple of my youth. She's in I think she was coming off of Private Benjamin when she did this, which she's famous for. But like I remember her from Shampoo from 1975. Like I'd seen that obviously well after it came out. She's in Overboard with Kurt Russell, which I've seen. Bird on a Wire with Mel Gibson. She was really famous for. She's in Death Becomes Her in 1992, First Wives Club. Kind of going back before Wildcats. She's in Swing Shift with Kurt Russell again. So, you know, she has a career that spans from 1968 all the way to 2020 with the Christmas Chronicles. She was a big staple of the 80s and a leading lady in her own right. And she's also a hilarious actress. So we were not a sports family growing up. You know, we were more music.
I would never
movies.
guess that, Mark.
Shut your face. But we did like our sports movies, and I remember, you know, just like you, I was born a small black child on the south side of Chicago. Which is to say that I was born in Uniondale, Long Island, New York, and I was like the only white kid in town. all the white people had done white flighted into into Suffolk County and left me and my parents all alone there in Uniondale. So, you know, watching a movie reflective of my neighborhood, with, you know, the amount of African American kids that are on this football team. Kids, by the way, everybody in this movie looks like they're 25. We'll talk about
Goldie
it.
Hawn. Except Goldie Hawn. Goldie Hawn looked like she was like in her early 20s.
Yeah, absolutely. But seeing a football team full of black kids, you know, in this movie was very much reflective of the neighborhood that I grew up in. The neighborhood that these kids play in was very reflective of the neighborhood that I grew up in. So I had that connection to it. Also, it's hilarious. This movie is so funny. We'll get into the plot in just a second, but I loved this movie as a kid. I have waited a long time to talk about it, and so here we go. So I'm not going to read the entire plot. Suffice to say, Goldie Hawn's coaching track at a hoity white school in the suburbs. But she grew up watching football. It is said that like her father was big into football. That comes up a couple of times, and you know that's how they bonded. That's how they related to each other. So she knows football in and out, and she wants to get a chance to coach JV football for the hoity white school. The guy running the varsity program, who it seems like he's running like sports for that entire school district, but he's coaching the varsity team, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm not having it. This is 1986, and we're not having girls coach boys sports. Certainly not football. What are you, crazy?" So instead, so she's begging and pleading and hitting him in the balls with racquetballs. It's a whole thing. And so finally, he's like, "Fine, you want to coach football? Go to the poorest, most dangerous neighborhood in the city, white woman, and go teach these animals how to play football. Lots of luck." With the intention that she will fail and she will come crawling back to teach track. And given the choice between, admitting defeat and trying to overcome what seems to be insurmountable odds, trying to get these, unruly children to learn this game and be competitive and win, she decides after a couple of missteps and a couple of false starts to give it her best shot. So there's a whole thing, and I love this. This is a plot point in the movie where basically she gets a gift from her sister, who's Swoozie Kurtz. It's a stopwatch, and the guy's trying to drive her out because they too don't want a girl football coach. It's embarrassing because this is the 80s, and things like this mattered. They break her watch. They put a graffiti all over her office. So she's like, "You want me gone? Yes, we want you gone. Did you not get the message when we destroyed your office, Swifty?" So she's like, "Fine. We'll run around this track. The last one standing wins. I win. You people do as you're told. You win. I leave quietly." And they were like, "Great. We're a bunch of big, strong men. You're a dainty girl. This should be easy." They don't know, movie magic, that she's a track star and a track coach. So of course she fucking outruns them. They all drop dead. And so she has a great line. She was just like, "You owe me a new watch, you pussies." Over the next bit of the movie, she's whipping them into shape. She's getting them to do things. And what she realizes is that there's a few missing components here. Not the least of which is they have Woody Harrelson of Cheers fame. which really dates me as a person. I'm 100. You might know him from what's the zombie movie he's in? Zombieland.
Zombieland.
Yeah. He was Carnage in the second Venom movie, etc.
We don't talk about that.
Alrighty. So she's like, yeah, he kind of just thinks his quarterback. There's a guy that's kind of watching games. They call him the Bird. He's selling watches out of a trench coat. He's an ne'er-do-well and probably a drug dealer, though that's never explicitly stated. And anyway, she goes into the bad part of town where he's doing crimes and says, hey, I'd like you to play football. And he was like, well, I'd like to do crimes. How's that sound? And they end up in a dumpster. And she, being a dainty white woman in a dumpster with a large black man, says, play football or I'll scream. He's like, lady, this is a bit much, don't you think? And she was like, I really want to win. So not wanting to be arrested with a dainty white woman in a garbage in a garbage bin, says, fine, I'll play football for fuck's sake. The next bit that happens is, and there's a guy on the team called Torillo, and he does a thing that I still reference. I have mentioned this at work. I mentioned it in casual conversation, the Torillo mark, or Torillo gent, which is he guns full speed ahead, head first, into a locker. And there's a bit where he does this magic trick instead of the gym locker, at the school locker, and he is told by this big fatso, who's also, he's because
extremely smart.
Yeah, he's selling his services to take tests and write papers for them so they can all pass school because they have to in order to play. So they're all buying grades from him, essentially, buying homework and whatnot from him. And he happens to be there when Torillo decides he's going to impress this young lady by putting a dent in her locker with his fucking head, which is awesome and something I really think we need to get back to as men. Hi, I would like to impress you. I would like to court you. I would like to swoon you. May I please dent something with my head for you? And the lady should all say yes. Don't you think so, Jason?
Yeah, that's a panty dropper.
Yeah, absolutely. So he does so, and Finch says, that's not the same density of locker. You're going to hurt yourself. Please don't do this. And he was like, you're a fat fuck and I shouldn't listen to you. And he says, great. Would you like to bet on that? And he was like, I would. So he runs, bashes his head into this locker, and knocks himself stone cold, just dead on the floor. At which point Goldie Hawn says, you have to now replace him. And he was like, what? So of course he doesn't want to do it. He's not an athlete. He's 900 pounds. He makes Yokozuna look like, Brooke Shields. So anyway, first game, they just trip him, and he falls on the lineman. It's great. It's great stuff. Later on, he is compelled to play because the other team is calling him fat and stuff, and the whole thing. The subplot of this movie is Goldie Hawn, whose name is Molly, is divorced, and she has two daughters, and the husband is the hoidiest of doity, uptight white men you're ever going to see in his life, and his, trophy wife is played by, which is really funny to me, played by, what the fuck's her name?
That bitch.
Jan Hooks, who used to be on Saturday Night Live. What a looker Jan Hooks was. Anyway, so she plays trophy wife, and they're hoity, and they don't love the fact that Goldie Hawn is teaching a bunch of black kids and Woody Harrelson to play football. So he's like, what if, and hear me out on this, what if you quit your job? And you teach at a prep school that I have picked out for you. And she's like, no, you patriarchal.
She's got to teach jazzercise.
He's just going to teach jazzercise. And she says, no, you patriarchal man, you. And so because these are misbehaving kids, there's parties because they start winning. And in one scene, her elder daughter gets drunk. And so there's this whole build-up of, I really didn't want you to do this in the first place, and now you're also a shitty parent. So he tries to fight her in court and get custody of the kids, which he was almost awarded, but then she was like, no, that's fine. I'll just quit my job and I'll go do jazzercise, and that way you don't take the kids from me. At which point the football team just gives up. They're like, well, if you're going to quit, then we're going to quit. And she was like, you're right. I should not quit. I should, in fact, yell at him and publicly shame him in the audience of our final football game.
Which has one of the best parts ever. The old black lady with no teeth going, give her the kids, you turkey.
Give her the kids, you worm.
Is it worm? I thought it was turkey.
No, give her the kids, the judge is the one who calls them turkeys.
Oh, okay.
When Wesley Snipes is trying to And Wesley's like, is trying to seduce the judge. And she's like, sit down, you jive turkeys. Jason, I miss the use of jive turkey in our vernacular. I just want you to know
we should bring it back.
We really should bring it back. Maybe as an expansion football team, the Tampa Jive Turkeys.
My wife's already got that market cornered with her, and one day we will discuss that. I will get her on air discussing her West Virginia Hoot Owls. So she's got it. She's got merch.
Well, when I make millions of dollars from sports betting, I'm gonna buy an expansion team, and they're gonna be the Jive Turkeys.
Okay. The Jacksonville Jive Turkeys.
They can't be any worse than the Jaguars. Anyway, but enough football talk on this football podcast. So now that she's publicly shamed this man and he has given into public pressure to not take her children away from her, the team turned around and said, "Are you staying, you dumb bitch, or are you leaving? What's wrong with you?" And she's like, "Of course I'm staying. It's the conclusion of the movie. Don't you understand?" So they go, "Oh, fuck. We got to remember how to play football now." So they are playing the preppy evil team from the beginning of the movie. And in the second half, they tie it up, and it's like right down to, I think, like a field goal or something. They put Fatso in the game, and they do this. They
put some respect on his name.
Sorry, they put Finch in the game, and the evil coach is, called him a fat fuck is what happened. And so now he's mad, and he wants to get in there. So he blocks a field goal, and they end up catching the blocked field goal and running it back for a touchdown. Fantastic. Once again, good has conquered evil. And in one of the funniest parts of this stupid-ass movie, and a part that I was watching it with my friend, and I'm thinking to myself, could you imagine the year of our Lord 2025 this fucking happens? This guy is like, he clearly he paid her. He paid her to play the game. He can't do that, and he's got the money in his jock. And so after telling two different players to do it, they're like, "No, we're not reaching down into another boy's jock, gently fondling his penis looking for money." He's like, "I'll do it myself." They would haul you away, Jason. They would haul you away if you even had thought about digging into a child's fucking pants to look for money. And of course,
which you have before.
Shut up, Jason. So don't talk about what we do at the strip club. So anyway, so he picks him up, fucking gorilla presses him into the mud, and and our coach does a Hunter Hearst Helmsley in the Hogs Pen match, and they lift up Goldie Hawn, and all is well in Mudsville. All right, what do you think of this movie, Jason? That we haven't already said.
You forgot one key aspect.
If it's about them not being able to pick up Finch, I didn't forget it. It's just not worth talking about.
No. One of the greatest African-American actors of our generation, of our time, Nipsey Russell, as a principal.
I guess they want the peanut brittle.
Yeah, you want some peanut brittle? We still got some left over from last year.
We got new uniforms because we sold the last of the peanut brittle. Dude, has this become like Nipsey Russell month?
It has. That's what I was getting ready to ask. We've covered a lot of Nipsey Russell this month.
I feel like I should rearrange the rest of the schedule. We just do more Nipsey Russell until the end of February.
I would not have any objections. I love Nipsey Russell.
Nipsey Russell Appreciation Month here in the Radulich and Broadcasting Network.
I think we could manage that. I think we could do a whole month on Nipsey Russell.
They wanted Cosby for that, right? They absolutely wanted Bill Cosby for the principal, and they couldn't get Cosby because he was too big for this. And
I don't know.
So they got Nipsey Russell instead.
I don't know if they wanted Cosby. I
think Nipsey Russell lines are right. That's a Bill Cosby thing.
Yeah, but Nipsey Russell,
a very funny fellow. Right. Noah, I want you to build an ark. Right. Yeah, they wanted Cosby.
But yeah, Nipsey Russell is great. Like I said, we got the early pairing, the very first pairing of one of the best movies being user reviewed. We won't talk about the remake, but White Men Can't Jump. We get the first pairing of Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes.
Yep.
In this, and who would know that watching this movie, the trajectory of those two's career.
Oh yeah.
Blade, Money Train, Tax Evasion. All of that.
Deadpool, Wesley Snipes. Yeah, and it's so funny because Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson teamed up a bunch over their careers.
Yeah, there was like the modern day Richard Pryor.
And Gene Wilder.
Yeah, Gene Wilder. Um, but not as funny. We can't switch that. But yeah, I mean, I love.
Jason, get this man some peanut brittle.
Yeah. Sam always wants that peanut brittle. But yeah, this movie was, like I said, intricate part of my childhood. Me and Sam watched it quite often.
Mm-hmm.
I think it came on HBO. I think I had it recorded, and it was just one of those things that we'd always, just like my mom would always order pizza, and we'd watch like Wildcats or something like that, playing Nintendo. Typical childhood stuff growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this movie is very near and dear to my heart.
I absolutely love the first time she goes into the locker room, and they know she's coming, so they're well prepared for it. And again, I would like to point out this is 1986 as opposed to the year of our Lord 2025. Goldie Hawn, middle-aged white woman, walks into an all-boys, adolescent boys locker room, high school boys locker room, and they say, "We're all dressed and ready to play, coach." And they pick up their helmets, and they ain't got no pants on, Jason. Just all hanging
They ain't
about.
got, they would be key members of the Radulich and Broadcasting Network.
Pantsless.
We are pantsless.
We are.
We are pantsless production over here.
We are the kings of pantsless aggression. Anyway, speaking of pantsless aggression, I remember as a kid laughing my ass off at that scene. I always laugh my ass off at the Torillo Den stuff. There's so much cutting up in this movie where they just give each other shit. They're just like, "How did your family let you get like this? He probably ate his family." Wah, wah. I'd say Goldie Hawn. So instead of just gushing about this movie mindlessly, maybe talk about some of the craft elements. It's actually like a really tightly written script. Despite the fact that I don't think it's. We'll talk about some of the demographic information in just a second, but I talk about this with Robert all the time. Like, the 80s really had some talented writers that knew how to put a very serviceable, succinct script together. Like, there's not a lot of wasted motion in this. This whole thing clocks in at about 106 minutes, and it does not feel its runtime.
Drag.
No,
it doesn't drag anywhere.
No,
it's a very tight 106 too.
It opens, exactly. It opens right at with her at the school, and she's right up there. And the character's name is Dan. She's right up there in Dan's face. I want to coach football. We know exactly what her motivations are and why. There's a lot that's shown you, I think the cold open to the movie is a panning across her house, and it's all her dad's football stuff. Who she is and what she wants within minutes of this film. The other thing about it is it's always hard to kind of get the audience to know your ensemble with a cast this size. You have to deal with an entire football team. But within minutes of meeting that football team, Woody Harrelson, you know who Woody Harrelson is, who the character of Wesley Snipes is, the kid who puts his fucking cigarette out on his hand. You get a very good sense of who all of these people are within minutes of meeting them. And you're just shy of hating them when you first meet them. They're awful. But they're not so awful as to be irredeemable, which is a nice trick in the writing of this movie. I also think that the stuff that she does with them in terms of how believable is this, I think is pretty on point. She knows her stuff, and she's using the advantages that she has. Like, if you watch some of the actual football in this, they are, especially with them, and when you see them contrasted with some of the other teams, they're all bigger. They're all bigger and faster guys, and she uses that to her advantage where they're lacking in skill. It has really good, solid beats. First she needs a new quarterback, then she needs a new lineman. Then even the stuff with the family is integrated well enough that it doesn't take away from the point of the film, and I think it makes her really sympathetic. So like I said, I think it's a really tight script.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those scripts that, like you said, in the early 80s, early the mid 80s, that you had really tight scripts, characters that were believable, and situations that were believable, and a lot of people could relate to. And it shows her that you know, they wove the family stuff in just right to show that, you know, she might have been, she was not only being a parent to some of these kids, but she was mentoring them to show them that they do have a future and they could go in and, you know, that they weren't the outcasts that everybody assumed them to be, even the school.
What did you think of the actual football scenes? You're a big sports person.
I thought they was good. I mean, you know, as good as 1986 football scenes could be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, they weren't groundbreaking. I mean, by any sense, but at the time, I mean, they were serviceable.
Yeah, I think it's important to keep context in mind. This isn't the NFL, so you're going to see a lot of loose ball play. I mean, there's a couple of times where Bird throws a Hail Mary and hits it, and it's like, well, yeah, it's high school. The other team could suck that bad.
Yeah, you don't have like everybody on the field being elite athletes in high school.
Right. All right. I'm not going to belabor the point. Is there anything else about this? I will tell you that the film has a 26% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I honestly think it's wildly misjudged.
Yes.
I wanted to read this line because it kind of cracks me up. In 2014, because of course, the movie was mentioned by Keely Goff in the Daily Beast in an article concerning white savior narratives in films. Which, I mean, this definitely fits into, but I don't think that's a bad thing. And I think that throwing the baby out with the bathwater every time you have, you know, a white person that comes to a black school or black area or, you know, minority area and, you know, helps. Like, why are we looking down at that sort of thing?
Yeah, and you can't look at things with the quote unquote bullshit PC era that we have now to movies made in 1986.
Yeah.
And that's the problem we have in a lot of movies, a lot of our favorite movies, actually.
Mm-hmm.
You got people trying to judge them on today's standards versus when they were made.